Oh my God, I don't even know where to start for this woman. Oh my God, Lucia Garcia. Sorry, Kaiser. Sorry, Miss Lucia Kaiser is an amazing woman. I will have her come and really say a lot, the things that she does, because we kind of lose our space in all of this thing. But Miss Lucia is a two-time Emmy Award-winning producer. She's a humanitarian. I was chosen for this award due to her outstanding lifetime contributions to humanitarian causes and her pioneering role model to women empowerment. I really want you to please help me to welcome Ms. Lucia.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you. Good having me.
Yeah, this is for Ms. Lucia. Yes, yeah.
Thank you.
This is our Global Empowerment Award. Excellence.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Wow, this is as good as my Emmys. Yeah, thank you. Well, for those of you who know me, it's going to be real tough for 8 minutes, but I'm going to try. I'm so honored and so humbled to have received this award from the beautiful Dr. Queen Blessing and her amazing organization, GEM. For many of you who know, and a lot of you have come of distance to be here tonight, I'm so privileged to see so many friends. I have been winning an award every year for the last 5 years, which is kind of scary, so I don't know what that means. But 5 years ago, the Paying It Forward Award, then you guys were there. And then the Lifetime Achievement Paying It Forward Award at the Yale Club, and then the Humanity Spirit Cultural Award, because I ran Bruce Lee's company, the only female ever, for 2 years in Hong Kong. And then last year at HBO, a Legacy Awards, as I said. But this one is, to me, the most important and most valued, because, thank you. I love, I'm sorry. I love giving back. I'm sorry. See, this is the Italian stuff. So anyway, speaking of Italian, let me tell briefly. My life started off in a very strange way. I'm a 100% Sicilian Italian woman that was born in the middle of the ocean as my parents were immigrating from Messina, Sicily. So many of you have asked me why I lived in Hawaii for 23 years, and I'm kind of more of an island girl. I think it's because I was born in the middle of the ocean. It must be. Because when I was 7 years old, growing up in the Bronx, I would tell my parents, I want to go to Hawaii. I was obsessed with going to Hawaii. And in those years, you really had to be rich and famous to go to Hawaii. I mean, rich and the wealthy only went to Hawaii in those years, many, many years ago. Anyway, fortunately, I was extremely, I was one of these people who had no fear. I could never take no for an answer. And, I was absorbing like a sponge, and I ended up, too long of a story, ended up in Honolulu at 15 years old and became a professional surfer. Yes. and anyway, and then I ended up back in the, let me just say one thing, even though many of you know this, but if you remember the great late Sammy Davis Jr., in my opinion to this day, the greatest entertainer that has ever lived. He was my mentor, believe it or not, at 14 years old. Too long of a story to tell. You'll have to read the book that Todd's writing. So he was in my life until his funeral. And I always had a thing for show business. So when I ended up coming back to New York, I ended up, again, a long story, working for Johnny Carson, the great Johnny Carson, at 18 years young. And at 19, I was the first woman executive for him at the Johnny Carson show. For many of you, hopefully you remember, because in these days when I speak to young kids, they go, who? I said, Google him. He was the king of late night television. It's very embarrassing, and it shows my age, I guess, whatever. But he really was the king. And interesting, I don't have the time because I do want to talk about sex trafficking, one of my main causes. in those years, talk about sexual harassment, but I have to say this, even though both Bruce Lee and, Johnny were very big parts of my life and my future, they were completely respectful to me as a woman. Can you imagine an Italian-American woman in a Chinese community for 2 years? What respect I had from Bruce Lee. It was extraordinary. I never had, but the book will tell you about the other part of the sexual harassment from everybody else, but I was very, very lucky. So, one of the Emmys I want to mention, I have many causes, but the number one is sex trafficking, which I will get into in a second, but the other one is, helping the homeless. And one of the Emmys I won was I took 31 families, I took 4 families in Hawaii that were very, very successful, lost everything, and I went through their journey of how they came back, so it was very positive, uplifting. It was called Hawaii Files, Journey from Homelessness. Very proud of that, and politically, and this is many years ago, because of my documentary and my getting the governor and not to say no to me, it ended up housing 31 homeless families. At that time, that was a major deal. Thank you. I'm very, very proud of that. Well, sex trafficking, the reason I got very involved is many years ago, in between everything else, and this is real because some who don't know me might think, how did she get to Cairo? I ended up in Cairo, Egypt as a tourist to basically, I wanted to see the pyramids and the Egyptian Museum, and I ended up basically living with a person who was the lust of my life, and he saved my life from a very powerful Middle Eastern royal family who put a contract out on me. And I got involved in sex trafficking because of that, but I have to just say a few things, as I think, Vincent, I applaud you so much because I know what work you've done. I'm around a lot of Hollywood A-listers and, people who know me in the industry, and it doesn't matter about the A-list, but interesting, when I met Oprah Winfrey for the first time many, many years ago, I started telling her about this, and she actually wanted to publish my book. And she was amazed. She didn't even know. And this was Oprah Winfrey. And I'm around a lot of people in the industry. I'm not going to name them, but that I tried to educate their the kids, because it happens all the time. I don't have children, but I want them to be educated, especially in America. And I'm involved in an organization, Tom Check, you met him, called Destiny Rescue, which is doing amazing work also. Has saved thousands and thousands of kids all over the world, including in Cambodia.
Just a reminder, all meetings should be terminating in 5 minutes.
Okay. Now I definitely. You have 5 minutes. Did they know it was Lucia Kaiser?
I know, really.
Okay, now this I have to say. Okay, shut up. Okay, I want to say something, and this I'm going to read, because this is very important to me. Okay, my life and work is devoted to growth, change, and supporting people with the courage to overcome adversity. It's an honor as a producer to be able to bring to life an extraordinary film and dramatic TV series that will inspire people. This film is based on true events inspired by the life of someone I am very close to, and I love him very much. He has struggled to see the truth and learn from his mistakes. This is what makes us human and brings people together at one of the most crucial moments in life. And Todd Volpe, I want you to stand up. This movie we're producing about Todd Volpe's life. He's been living with this for 18 years. He had a best-selling book. I'm a producer. Bonnie Timmerman is casting. And we're going to give money back to many organizations to end sex trafficking from our film. 100%. We're going to be on location now. Please, I have to say thank you. There's so many incredible people here. Over 50 friends of mine have come. I can't thank you all. Lynn Cohen, the extraordinary actress Lynn Cohen, and her husband, Academy Award-winning actress. Lucia Kaiser, Tom Jack, friends from London, Greg, Todd, everybody. I know my kid Doc, Adam, Rumi, everybody, Mary Beth, there's too many to name. I just love all of you, and I please continue to support this, anything you do to help end sex trafficking, and I love you, and I wish I had more time to go.